panel session of this program will be covering the role of marketing in a new sustainable world. As consumers increasingly look to sustainability as a priority filter for purchasing decisions, marketeers are presented with a unique opportunity as well as responsibility to communicate accurately and transparently on impact. The role of marketers in introducing sustainability concepts and shifting consumer mindset and decision-making is evolving at pace and goes much further than simply delivering communications on the topic. Let us welcome Ms. Carol Yeung, Vice President of Golin, and her panelists onto the stage. Special thanks to ADM Group and Prism Creative for their support of the session.
So, thank you everyone for joining us today at the first panel discussion under the Rethink Customers and Communications. So I'm Carol, I am the ESG lead of Golin. So we've been helping corporations and also the government to communicate their sustainability initiatives to both internal and external stakeholders. And today I'm really glad that we have a list of panelists ranging from branding, advertising, and sustainability with us today. So I'll pass the time for the panelists to introduce themselves. Melanie, will you want to go first?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Melanie. I'm the head of sustainability for Sino Group. I'm not a marketer, but trust me, I'm actually at the right panel and the right theater because often I help to communicate sustainability accurately, and we'll share more about that insights later.
Great.
Hi everyone, I'm Rosann Ling. I'm the founder and creative director of Prism Creative, and we're a boutique branding agency based here in Hong Kong, and we work with purpose-driven brands and organizations to amplify their impact.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Hina Wainwright. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for ADM Group. ADM is a sustainable global marketing execution company, and we help leading brands.
Right. So for this session, we really want to make sure that everyone understands how marketers are responding to calls for ethical, social, and sustainability responsibility in the organization when consumers are increasingly looking at sustainability as their filter when they are making the purchasing decision. So before we delve into the topic, I think we want to take a little bit step back in terms of the definition of marketing. So traditionally, a lot of the times, marketers are perceived as the people who are convincing to consume more. So they always talk about promoting their products and also ask people to buy more. So that seems to be a little bit contradictory to sustainability. But then in terms of the role on how they are educating consumers about the concept and inspiring a positive change would be something that we want to look into today. So I just want to ask the panelists here, what do you think the role of marketing has evolved over the past years? Maybe Rosann and Hina can shed some light on this.
Sure, yep, I can start. So I would say as marketeers, we've seen huge technological advances over the years, right? So the role, the power shift has changed from towards consumers and our customers. So they have more power over the channels they use, the types of channels they use, the control they have, and the feedback as well. And they're asking for better customer service. And when we don't give that customer service, we actually know about it straight away. So globalization, and I'd say technology, has really changed the way we're working and our ways of engagement as well. On top of that, more recently now, we've got the macro environmental issues, and with COVID, we're being asked to kind of balance tactics with long-term brand building. And whereas previously with communication, we were communicating our sustainability message, now we're trying to drive change and behavioral change.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything Hina has mentioned just now, especially the part about power to the customers. So nowadays, I think especially with the introduction of social media, we see so many ads a day. We actually see up to 10,000 ads per day. That's a lot. And it actually takes up to 7 times for us to see something to actually remember it. So now more than ever, the role of marketers is actually to make sure that your brand is on top of mind for your consumer. And how you actually go about that is to really stretch out your vision, and instead of looking at a campaign in silo, to really think about the entire customer journey and how at every interaction, at every touch point, you're building trust, you're building resonance, and building loyalty. Because that's the true currency of brands today, brand loyalty. It's actually not just acquisition, but loyalty.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's kind of like dating, right? Get to know someone.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's exactly like dating. You know, all you want to do is move them forwards one step at a time until you get to your goal.
Great. Yes. So with these changes in mind, that comes to a follow-up question, which is like the big topic that we are going to discuss today is what is the role of marketing in a sustainable new world? So would you want to elaborate a little bit on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us here today have heard about a lot of talks around, employee engagement. I think this is something so important that we see marketing beyond the marketing department. We did a study last year, actually, as an agency to understand what's the top motivating factor for someone to make a purchasing decision. Actually, it's not KOLs and influencers, it's friends and family recommendations. It actually came as 10 times more influential and effective compared to celebrity or KOL marketing, because at the end of the day, people want to buy from people. They trust people. Use your employees as walking billboards. Invest in them. Make sure you're building a good team culture with them.
Right.
I'd say, it's a big question. That's why it's the topic of this panel. I'll give you three areas I think we could focus on. So one is, communicating our strategy, our sustainability strategy externally. And that's not just communicating for communicating's sake. I do believe, as marketeers, we have a responsibility to keep sustainability at the forefront of our consumers' minds, our customers' minds, and our employees' minds as well. So that's number one. Number two, I'd say market research. Marketeers love market research. We love customer insight. So let's use that insight, what we're hearing from our customers in terms of their sustainability goals, in terms of the market. Let's take that back to our organizations and then shape our strategies, because then we're winning, right? We're listening to the customer, we're relevant to that customer, and we're basically following what they would like to do. And actually, we could grow if we listen to them. And the third one is us as marketeers. I think we need to look at our sustainability and make sure that we're sustainable across our full marketing mix, especially when it comes to kind of physical material. I think that's often forgotten. The first two, we think about as marketeers in general. When it comes to sustainability and physical marketing material, point of sale material, gifting, any type of physical material that we do, we should be thinking about that from a sustainability angle as well. Because if we're not thinking about that and we're not sustainable ourselves, but we're talking about sustainability when we're branding it, then it's going to come back and haunt us as well, and it's going to affect our brand equity.
Right. Yes, and also I think when we are looking into marketing as well, based on a report published by WWF and also Economic Intelligence Unit last year, the search for sustainability products throughout the past 5 years actually increased by 71%. So this is a really awakening number. In this era of eco-awakening, we are looking into how marketers can actually strike a balance between the longer-term ESG or CSR objectives of the company versus the short-term business objectives that are achieved traditionally by marketing. So maybe Melanie, would you want to share a little bit more about how marketers could actually achieve the balance between these two goals?
Great questions. Sino Group, actually, as you all know, is a developer. And if you look into our social media these days, almost every day we communicate sustainability. And it's not just for Sino Group, but also our peers communicate sustainability. And for Sino Group, we actually even use sustainability as our brand. So our ethos is called Creating Better Lifescapes. So this is actually part of sustainability as well. So as a sustainability team, we do communicate a lot with the corporate communications and the marketing team almost on everyday basis. Right today, supposedly we have a publicity announcement on our sustainability report. Remember just now Jane mentioned, I'm so thankful that we are the 85% that communicate sustainability.
Yeah.
But as a corporate, we do also need to strike the balance that often we've been asked, how do we avoid greenwashing?
Right.
Because that's something that as a corporate sustainability practitioner, this is my job, is to make sure that while sustainability is important in marketing and branding, we try not to be greenwashing.
Right.
That's why communicating sustainability accurately, it's very important. So on a day-to-day basis, we work with the corporate communications and marketing team. They send us the information, and we do need to fact check as well. Having a sustainability report, it's great because you also get a verifier to verify the information. And also when we work with a lot of our CSR and sustainability partners, we want to make sure that, like you said, the goal setting is very important,
Right.
also to have the policy in place as well. So sustainability communication is not just, icing on a cake. But nowadays it's very important in terms of its accuracy, and it's very also important in terms of the meaningful of this message as well.
Right, absolutely. And also it's a close relationship between the different stakeholders, including sustainability department and also corporate communications and marketing team. So Hina, would you want to add a little bit on that point?
It is really a balance, right?
Yeah.
We've got the sustainability goals and we've got the business objectives as well. We do need to make sure sustainability is in our DNA. We should be using marketing metrics. We should be using the insight we get back to kind of look at how we shape our strategy. But again, when I talked about marketing execution just now, which is often forgotten, but how often do we look at monetary costs versus environmental costs? And it is a bit, it's a bit complex. There is no gold standard of what is sustainable materials. Like there is a standard, there's not a gold standard. So it's really complicated for people to understand. But there are actually partners out there who do this day in, day out. So as marketeers, we shouldn't feel like we need to know all of it, but we should be working with partners who do understand it to make sure we are balancing the agenda, but at the same time we can then focus on some of the other business objectives as well.
Right. And actually that comes into another question looking into the bigger context in Hong Kong. So zooming into Hong Kong, we know that last year in October, the Hong Kong government actually announced the Carbon Neutrality 2050 plan, which has a focus on energy reduction, energy conservation, waste reduction, recycling, and also green transport. So these will be the three main areas that corporations are looking into in terms of their sustainability framework. But at the same time, like a lot of the companies, including listed companies, they are really care about like how they are complying to science-based target and also like the other regulations. But from a consumer perspective, what do you think is the state of play in Hong Kong right now? Because a lot of the conversation is more on sustainability finance or like investors' perspective. And what do you think are some of the challenges or like what work still needs to be done from the consumer-centric front? So I guess maybe Rosann, do you want to start?
I think first of all, it looks very positive. As we can see, like these 2 days at Rethink, there's been a lot of interesting talks, a lot of great ideas being shared. As a branding agency that works with clients on B2C side, what we have noticed, however, is that although people are more willing than ever to support sustainable brands, there is still a gap between aspiration and action. And when we dive deeper into this, what we realized is that there is still some sort of unconscious bias around the word sustainability. And this was actually further validated by a piece of research that we did for a client in sustainable fashion when we asked some of their top customers, like, okay, what words would you use to describe the brand? And a lot of the phrases that came back were sustainable yet fashionable, eco-friendly yet comfortable. So this key word here is yet, because it really proves that in consumers' minds, sustainability is still, it doesn't equate to them to well-designed or comfortable or chic or flattering. So yeah, I think as marketers and brand strategists, our role here is to help close this gap between aspiration and action. And I think in Hong Kong, sustainability is still a very new topic. A lot of consumers are still very new to this. So try to simplify it for them. When we talk about transparency and talk about supply chains, try and make it as simple as possible for people to understand so that they can get it immediately. A good rule of thumb would be to try and explain it to a 5-year-old what you do. And if they don't get it, it's probably too complicated.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know like a lot of companies try to talk about their target, the materiality, and also some of the other very technical terms, which might not be understood by the mass consumers.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a really great point.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree with you. I mean, not just the 5 years old for Sino, for instance, we have over 10,000 colleagues across Asia, and we have colleagues that are from different departments of security, we have cleaners. So for us actually to communicate sustainability, it's not just externally, but internally, how do we make sure everyone is on board with sustainability? You talk about climate change. Sino is actually one of the 5th Asia developer to pledge on net zero carbon, business ambition 1.5, decarbonization. And trust me, when I tell the whole Sino group, decarbonization and science-based target, literally not many people understand what the heck I'm saying.
Yeah.
So we need to sort of translating sustainability into layman terms where everyone can be on board. So to do that, Sino Group actually established a sustainability academy. And actually, we actually have set a target that by 2025, 100% of the employees under Sino Group will receive ESG training. And our training is not just on a very technical basis of what science-based targets are, what is 1.5, but also something that is layman as well. For instance, we do have a project called Farm Together. We have 18 farms in Hong Kong and in Singapore, and where possible, we look into areas where we can grow and harvest organic produce. And we invite our frontline colleagues to actually harvest themselves, to learn about organic farming.
Right.
And this itself actually portrays an important message that everyone plays a role to help to portray sustainability. And I think sometimes a tiny little steps also help us to understand, align the goals of sustainability. And I
Yes.
think that is important as a corporate as well.
Yeah, for sure. Because there's something that we found as well in terms of employee engagement and also training. A lot of the times the companies, in my opinion, should actually make this a compulsory training for all the employees. So in the future, everyone can work together towards the sustainability goal. So with that feedback, I actually think that it lends very naturally to our next question about stakeholders. Because with the sustainability agenda that we have right now, marketers are actually exposed to so many different stakeholders. So it's not only about understanding the consumers, but also there could be supply chain that might not be in Hong Kong. There could be third-party vendors, which the brand might not have transparency on in terms of their operation. And of course, employee engagement and also all the other staff on the front line and across the different departments. So my question would be, there are some saying that the marketers today actually have a really expanded role because they are not only looking at marketing research to understand the consumers, but also the overall operation of the whole company. So what do you think about this statement, and what do you think would be the marketers should look after in this new ecosystem?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. So, yeah, we do have expanded roles, but that doesn't mean that we have to be experts in everything. And I think that's really important because there are people out there which can support us, right? And when it comes to the supply chains, I think, yeah, look, we know that, human rights, D&I are part of sustainability. So when we're looking at our supply chain, we need to make sure there's no violations when it comes to that, especially when it comes to our company spend, when it comes to our marketing spend, right? So we need to make sure we're working with partners who are really looking at that supply chain in the correct manner. And if we don't, obviously that's just going to affect the brands that we're working with right now. And the way to assess that is you can work with partners by looking at them and seeing what audits they're doing. If you're working with a master agency, which suppliers are they using? Have they looking at the risks? Have they got supplier management? And what are they doing in that case? And are they reporting back to you? And you should be looking at all of that before you start any marketing, because if you don't, it will come back to bite us. And we see that's happened with quite a few brands when they've not looked at their end-to-end supply chain. So that's really important. But again, there are specialists out there. There are suppliers out there. So work with them and make sure they've got the correct audits in place, is what I would say.
Right. And Rosann, would you
Yeah,
want
I agree with Hina. I mean, a role of a marketer, you have to wear so many hats nowadays, and a lot of people are looking to you to be able to communicate the brand's message in the right way. So we do have to do our homework. Sometimes it's a little bit like doing detective work, right? You have to go and ask the right people, find out the right information. But yeah, I agree with Hina that do lean on experts in their fields and simply be the bridge, the communicator, be the listener, and be the mediator between all these different stakeholders. It's not easy, definitely, but I think we all need to come together and really do believe that there is a possibility for this new sustainable world if we work together.
Yeah.
I mean, for a Sino group, I've been in Sino for 11 years, and so I've been communicating sustainability in the corporate world for all this time. And I can see the trend is moving so fast.
Yes.
Just a few years ago, we talked about plastic. But very recently, we talk about urban biodiversity. And who knows, next year, maybe that's something new on the ESG topics. And so as a marketer, I think it's very important that we keep abreast of what is the ESG topics right now. So, and also partnerships is very important. I mean, we think Hong Kong is a great platform, and that's why Sino also sponsors for second year, to actually find partners, to find startups, to find like-minded partners. And actually, we find that often a most successful project is actually when you have good partners. So for instance, recently we launched a coral reef restoration program, being the first cross-sectorial collaboration. And we plant the coral reefs in the southern waters in Hong Kong, working with the Hong Kong University and also with the Ocean Park at the Fullerton Ocean Park Hotel. And we see that this is actually a successful impact because with all the partnerships as well, the customer loved it. It also helps to promote the brand of the Fullerton Ocean Park Hotel. So all these comes together with good partnerships and good impact as well.
Right.
Yeah,
and
I agree with you, Melanie. Partnerships are so important, and I even would invite you here, everyone here today, to think about your competitors and is there potential to actually become collaborators? Because we're all in this together, right? Like we don't have to think that, oh, the pie is only so big, that's my slice. What if we all contribute and the pie just gets bigger? All come together and work on this together.
Right. And also like with this in mind, I think there are so many to talk about for marketers. So what are the soft skills or the knowledge that you think marketers should equip themselves with, or even like learning course or training that we should go through in order to thrive under this new landscape?
Yeah, I can start there. I think we do need to obviously all have general understanding of what sustainability is, what it means to our companies, what it means in the markets we work in. Within ADM Group, we do have a sustainability team. They're in the audience, wonderful ladies over there. But they don't sit in an office on their own in a silo doing their sustainability thing. They sit in our operations teams amongst all of us, and they're there day in, day out, talking to us, training us, running workshops. So we're learning that way, and we're learning off the back of them. So I think that's one way. I'm very fortunate. Internally, we have a green design tool. So when I'm looking at marketing execution for myself and my materials, within that tool, what they can tell me is, you know, the raw materials I'm using, the number of uses, how it's affecting water emissions, how is it affecting CO2 emissions, right? It tells me all of that and gives me a sustainability score. And then so I can look back and look at it from a design perspective and go, okay, actually, if I change this element of my marketing execution, my score goes down and I'm being better to the environment. So I am lucky that I have this kind of tool internally that I can use. Other skills, I would say, stay curious, you know, learn, follow sustainability leaders. We're all here today just to get better and understand more. So I think that's important. Be adaptable. I think, you know, look at what's going on in the ESG landscape and then take that back and adapt your strategy. Don't be so fixed in what you have to do. And finally, you know what, we've all talked about it. Work with partners. You don't have to know it all. There's partners in marketing, in PR, in comms, in strategy, in execution. And there's specialists out there, and we should be working with them to make sure they help take us on that journey as well.
Great. Thank you, Hina. Rosann?
Very well said, Hina. Yeah, I agree that curiosity is the number one soft skill I think every marketer should have today. Empathy and being able to put yourself in the shoes of your target audience. Instead of hiding behind a screen and looking up on Google what the latest trends are, why not step outside and have a walk through the city and have a look at what people are saying, what people are doing, and think about where your target audience are and go to them. So where would they hang out? Like go to a cafe, go to a shop that they would usually hang out at. I have to admit I love eavesdropping at cafes. Yeah. Like I just sit there, I plunk myself down there for a couple of hours and just listen in on conversations. You can pick up some really cool insights from just simply putting yourself out there and just keeping your eyes and ears open.
Right.
I think over communicate it's better than under communicate, and I think your friend would be my friend because sustainability team nowadays in the corporate is actually one of the busiest team. I can tell you. I have
Right.
300 emails. I'll be sitting down.
Oh.
Everyone is asking sustainability team to fact check whether the
Yes.
information is correct before they broadcast out, and it's important because communication with sustainability team is actually very important in order to communicate. Again, the key takeaways is accurately. So very often we do communicate with all the departments in Sino Group to make sure that we are aligned the same goals. Because sometimes if we have various goals, various direction, we can't make things right and we can't move fast. So we need to make sure that we align the same goals. So I often encourage other departments to communicate closely with us and to align the same goal with us. And that is very important, especially for multiple companies as well.
Right. And also, I actually got a follow-up question when we are talking about like the audience and also like trying to understand what they are doing and like hearing their conversations. Actually, like certainly there are different perception to sustainability across the different generation, like Gen Z versus millennials. So like, what do you think about like how do we appeal to the different generation and how do we make sure that we actually communicate to them in an effective way? Maybe Melanie, do you want to?
Yes, I can give you an example. So for Sino, we have many hotels. Okay.
Right.
So many years ago, when you come to a hotel, you know all you care about is whether the room is beautiful, whether there's a spa, there's a swimming pool, the food is great. But nowadays, we actually receive a lot of customers asking whether the hotel is sustainable. So they look for sustainable seafood. When they have weddings, they make sure that they choose the hotel that do not serve shark fins.
Right.
And then actually they do appreciate the efforts that we put in. For example, in our Sino hotels, we eradicated all the plastic bottles and we give each room a glass flask. And the
Right.
guest has to go outside and pour out the water. And we first thought the guests will complain because they have to walk out and pour. But actually, to our surprise, they really appreciate it. And they really appreciate the efforts that we don't use plastic bottles. And I think the customers' demand on sustainability in the consumer market is actually growing. But I think we can do more. I think in Hong Kong, there should be more messages from the media, from the journalists, again, to drive more positive sustainability message. And I think that is improving, but I think we can do more on that area.
True. Well, that's my personal experience as well. I went to like Sino Group's hotel before, and then I see Urban Spring as a partner of like pouring the water, right? Yes. So this is a really good example. And like, would Rosann or Hina want to add anything about this point?
I would just say, I mentioned it before, look at the customer insight, take that back, don't ignore it. It is different for every audience, so make sure you're doing your market research and don't forget that critical stage.
Right.
Yeah, very interesting question posed there, Carol, because actually as an agency, we have done research around like what different generations are doing in terms of addressing sustainability issues. And what we found is that one surprising thing is that Gen Z don't do recycling.
Oh, really?
Surprising, right?
They don't do recycling.
They don't do recycling.
Oh.
But that doesn't mean they don't care about sustainability. The thing is, we have to really look into different generations, different demographics, and see what they are actually already doing and meet them where they are. So Gen Z are not doing recycling. However, they are being online activists. They're spreading messages online and spreading ideas online. They're gathering friends to do beach cleanups. And they also proactively don't choose to purchase items that need to be recycled in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah, whereas older generations are doing the recycling, they are doing the donations to charity because that's what they know. These are the more traditional ways of contributing to community and helping the planet. So, yeah, it's interesting to see what different generations are doing, and I think it's very important that we're able to tailor our messaging towards different generations that can resonate with them, in ways that they understand and meet them where they are.
Right. So like a follow-up question to your point, do you mean like for marketers, probably before the product cycle, they already need to think about like to appeal to Gen Z potentially is about like they are doing products?
Exactly, yeah. So, really look into your entire product cycle and see like, okay, which parts of the product cycle would resonate with which audience group and focus on this messaging towards them.
Right. Great. So in terms of like, if we have one key takeaway that you would want to give to our audience today, what do you think would be the one thing that would be very important? Hina, would you want to go first?
I'd say make sure sustainability is at the forefront of the design and purchasing stage of your marketing execution. I've spoke about that, so that's often forgotten, so make sure it's at the forefront and not just bolted on for legal requirements or for PR purposes. So that's, I'll leave you with that.
I think curiosity, like get really curious about how people behave, what people are thinking, and keep the dialogue open with your customers, with your target audience, because I think people want to be part of that change. And for us as brand strategists, as marketers, as brand owners, we should be opening the door and inviting them in, and having this dialogue with them, and keep your vision on the big goals, but then don't be too hung up on how you actually get there, because it's an ever-changing landscape.
Right.
I think sustainability is a journey. It's not a destination. It never was. It never will. And I think nowadays sustainability journey is getting harder. It's not an easy road. But that's why it's very important for us to have more collaboration, and not just within the industry. I think platform today, where we all come from different backgrounds, we're all from different industries, we should work harder together to help us to promote better in terms of the ESG. Because like Jane said, we only have one Earth. And as you can see, we are all suffering the hottest October, hottest September. Climate change is happening to every one of us. And I think we need to act faster. We need to be stronger together to collaborate more. And I think Hong Kong is a potential market to do more on ESG and sustainability with collective efforts.
Right. Thank you. And also, like echoing to Jane's point, I think it's about it's a collective effort that everyone can put their influence, especially for marketers who got so many influence from B2B, B2C, and also for branding, advertising, and sustainability perspective. It's important for us to actually work really closely together so that we can deliver something impactful and meaningful for our community. So I think we can have our Q&A session now. So I think
There's one here, Carol.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Hello?
Okay, I'm curious about let's say, how do you promote something, a sustainable action from a company that is working on its sustainable journey? I mean, it can look like a drop in the ocean for the customers, but it's important, but it doesn't have to be greenwashing. So what's, you know what I mean? It's blurry. It's a very blurry area. So
you don't feel like you're there yet, but you don't want to greenwash either. And I would say transparency is key there. Just be totally transparent. And actually, your customers appreciate that you're on the journey and you're trying to get there as well. Nobody is perfect. You just said it's a journey. It's not a destination. Within our company, we have we promote a Better Tomorrow. It's a report that we show, and we're totally transparent on what we do there. Are we brilliant at everything? No. Do we want to get there? Of course we do, but it's about being totally transparent. Actually take your customers on that journey as well, because they're also trying to achieve the same as you. And sometimes you can collaborate and you can work together to get to that destination together. So I would say that.
Yeah.
Since it's talk about greenwashing, I guess I can take that part. Often we are asked quite a lot as a corporate, how do you avoid greenwashing? That's why, like Hina said, I think it's important that we need to communicate transparently, professionally. And for instance, for Sino Group, whenever we communicate sustainability message, we don't beat the chest. We're not the only one who's going to like, blah, 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 we're very best, the best, blah, blah. No, but we also actually leverage the opportunity to quote our partners. What do they think about our program? We quote our audience, those that are working with us. And also, it's very important that we do need to communicate factually accurate. So whenever there's a program launched in Sino Group in sustainability, we make sure we have a KPIs, we have a goal setting, we have a 2030 sustainability vision. We communicate on a regular basis to the audience, to the public, where we are. Like I said, we cannot reach the destination so fast, but at least we can communicate transparently to the audience where we are in terms of achieving our 2030 goals. And of course, open a platform to listen humbly from what we can learn and improve. That's important. We do have a hotline. We have an email called sustainability@sino.com. Not encouraging everyone to email me later. You can link in me.
Yeah.
But sometimes we do actually receive humble feedback from our stakeholders. Oh, I think Sino can improve better in terms of certain sustainability. And we listen to them. We work with our management. And I think as a corporate, it's very important to do that as well.
Right, and I think that goes back to Melanie's point earlier. It's a journey, not a destination. So it's always an ongoing, it starts with starting, right? When it comes to sustainability, no matter how small the starting point is, it's always good to have a roadmap in mind so that we understand where we are heading to.
So I have a question.
Yeah,
Hello,
Jane.
panelists. So this morning, a story broke about Coca-Cola sponsoring the next global climate change conference. And there's been backlash and damage to their corporate reputation because they are allegedly one of the world's largest polluters using single-use plastic. So I'd love to know what the panel think about that. Would you have made the same decision to sponsor it? Do you think it's fair to Coca-Cola?
I can just take that very quickly. Thank you for the question. It's very insightful. As a corporate, often we are asked to sponsor certain events. And it's not an easy decision because we need to look very carefully of what we are sponsoring. That's why we sponsor Rethink Hong Kong. We think it's trustable. It's true. I think as a corporate, we do need to be very careful, very mindful of what we're sponsoring. We need to do more background studies and research as well. As I said, the trend is moving so fast that we don't know what's ever next. But when we are sponsoring certain things, we also reflect ourselves as well to see whether we have the ability, where we're matching with same mindset. I think that is also very important.
Right. Any other thoughts? Or, yeah, I think we got the next question.
So we're a company in the construction industry and we're a supplier actually to that industry. Often, the procurement process is extremely long for our customers with lots of different stakeholders. I'd be interested in how you see the messaging has to change between a B2C company and then a B2B company such as us.
Sorry, what was the question?
So how do you see that the sustainability messaging should change between a B2C company and then a B2B company that typically has a much different customer interaction?
Yeah, look, I think it's, for me, I'm B2B, I always have been, so I would say, it's about showing your values as a company, understanding what they are, what your objectives are around sustainability, and again, communicating that to your audience. B2C or B2B, there's always a target audience, right? But it's you've just got to understand what's relevant for them, what makes them tick, so if it's B2B, in their organization, what are their sustainability goals? And how are you helping them achieve those sustainability goals, right? And how are you adding value to them? Because that's what we would be looking at. I'm B2B, but also I work in an agency working with other brands as well. So we look to those other brands and we say, what are their sustainability goals? How do we help them on that journey? And how do we work together to really get there? So what I said before, I don't believe there's a huge difference. I just think the target audience is different and the way you communicate, the channels you use would be different.
Yeah, adding on to what Hina has mentioned, actually there isn't that big of a difference from a brand messaging point of view between B2B and B2C. If we have a look at some of the most successful and widely used B2B brands today, like let's look at Slack, Salesforce. These are brands that feel very human. And it's because at the end of the day, humans want to buy from humans want to interact with humans. So it's quite the same. I would always suggest to look at B2B businesses even as just the same as B2C, where you really want to be able to see the people behind it, because
Right.
that's where you are able to build that trust factor.
Yeah, and actually, I got a very interesting point to add because you mentioned about a construction company. I think it's about the value add to the B2B partners and also the end consumers. So, for example, it can be like how we are regulating the temperature with the sustainability materials or paint. That could, like, in turn, reduce climate impact, and that could be some of those value add messages that we deliver. Yeah. Any other? Oh, Steph.
Yes. So you've spoken a lot about how your individual companies and employees handle sustainability communications, but how accountable are you when it comes to your wider supply chain? And how can you hold them at the same standard that you hold yourself, or is that even possible?
Yeah, I mean,
Hina
I think
mentioned-
I spoke about that slightly earlier. In our business, we have to do that. That is why clients come to us and work with us. Brands come to us to de-risk their business because they know that we carry out those audits with all the suppliers we work with, and we have to do that, and we've got to report everything back. Me as a marketeer, I would look to do the same. If I'm looking to work with an agency right now, I'm going through a process with a couple of agencies. And I'll be the questions I ask are exactly what our customers ask us. What are they doing in terms of sustainability? What are some of their goals? What are they trying to achieve? And all the metrics behind it as well. So, I think it's really important for us as marketeers to hold ourselves accountable to this. Are we working with agencies because they're giving us the best price? Or are we working with agencies because we're balancing monetary versus environmental costs? And I think that is really important to understand.
As a listed company, often we are approached by many suppliers, many contractors. So for us, it's actually, you can imagine Sino Group actually has so many companies approaching us asking for business opportunity. So first of all, like you said, auditing is very important. We do have a sustainable procurement policy in Sino Group to make sure that our suppliers do adhere to the policy. We have a transparent auditing system as well. We do have a committee that actually helps to look into choosing the best vendors and contractors, not because of its price, but because sometimes of its, most recently, innovative measures. So for instance, in the booth right now today, there's one of the booths called EcoBricks. Sino actually invests in EcoBricks, and we are actually one of the first developer in Hong Kong to use the EcoBricks in our properties at the Gold Coast, Piazza, and also the Fullerton Ocean Park Hotel is the first hotel in Hong Kong to use the EcoBricks. So EcoBricks is a very good example that they actually do promote sustainability in terms of circular economy, and that really actually makes us feel like we should partner with them. So I think I encourage the startups and the suppliers to also look into innovative sustainability solutions, and I think that is what developers like us are looking into these days.
Like technology is definitely one of the things. Like I can see that there are so many new technology startups, suppliers setting up the booth outside. So yes, everyone could like open and see like the potential partners for different industries. I think we can still have like 2 more questions maybe. Any further questions from anyone? Oh. Like, please.
Hi. So for each of our speakers there, what is the one thing that you think marketers can do to accelerate the change? If there was one thing, what is it that marketers can do to accelerate the change?
I'd like to take that.
I'm happy to take that.
Sure.
I mean, I think I've mentioned it already. I think we need to look at ourselves and what we do and the partners we work with. We talk about sustainability, but actually when we're working, with different partners, are we making sure they're sustainable? Or are we saying, like I said just earlier, we do hear this in Hong Kong, I'm going to be transparent, and that's not our business, but as marketeers, we know this happens, right? They go with the best price, but actually, is it about the best price, or are you going with the right company which fits your goals and really looks at sustainability versus, the best price? And I think we have a responsibility to do the right thing and ask those questions of our suppliers and our partners.
Yeah, it's like the cost of, like that we are costing the environment versus the cost that we are paying right now.
Correct.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, I think definitely, as Hina mentioned, like it's so important that marketers are the protectors of brands today, and that we challenge people. You know, we ask the right questions, and we dare to ask the right questions as well, because it's important. Like our time is running out, and I think now is really the time to be brave and put yourself out there. And I mean, for us as an agency, we also try our best to work only with sustainable brands. But then when we can't, what we do is we try to play the advocator role, and we try to encourage people. And you know, instead of like fear mongering people, I think come from it from an optimistic point of view, and really encourage people to think like, oh, what if we could do this?
I would say read more and learn more, because as a practitioner, sustainability is moving so fast these few years. And if we look into the social media, LinkedIn, for example, I mean, I think almost all corporates, including us, do communicate sustainability on a very daily basis. So it's not just working as solo and looking into what we're communicating, but benchmark of what our peers are actually communicating. What are the areas where we can leverage the opportunity to do more? How can we outstand, as corporate, as a listed company, we often ask ourselves, are there areas where we can outstand from our peers in sustainability? And I have to tell you, my job is getting harder and harder, because I have to keep thinking new things for a company, and everyone is doing so much these days. So often my team, every 2 weeks, they'll do benchmarking. They'll benchmark not just the Hong Kong, but Asia's developer. What are they doing? What are they focusing on? What are they doing on decarbonization? What are they doing on climate change? Can we do better than them? What can we learn from them? And I think one thing that ESG rating agencies really help these days.
Right.
Aside from actually doing a sustainability report, I just produced 700 pages, killing a lot of trees, I'm sorry. But actually, it really helps to communicate sustainability accurately.
Yes.
But also, on another hand, I think ESG rating is also very important these days. There are actually at least 10 to 15 ESG rating agencies around the world. And as a listed company, we have to keep complying of these ratings. And actually really helps the company to move faster, including the marketers as well, because we know what are the ESG ratings looking at. For instance, they look at the waste, they look at water, they look at energy. How do we prioritize? How do we sort of like put the best investments in the company to make sure that we can promote the rating? So I think just leverage the opportunities with the ESG ratings as well, to have a good policies. But most important of all, you must learn and read every single day. That's what I do. I actually read what others are doing almost every day.
Exactly.
So the trend is just moving so fast. We just have to keep learning.
Yes, so stay open and use our influence wisely as a marketer and a sustainability practitioner. So I think there was another question from the audience over there. Yeah.
Yeah, during the 2 days, I heard a lot about change the customer behavior or educate the customers. And to be honest, I feel it a bit weird. I don't know if it's a role of a company to educate a customer, especially when you think about marketing, it's about solving a customer issue. So they're coming with something in mind. And so what do you think about educating the customers?
I think it's really important. I mean, as businesses, we should be educating our customers anyway, right? We should be taking them on the journey, and they help us as well, right? Some of the things our customers come to us with, you know, we're learning all the time, but I think we should be educating our customers in terms of generally in business, but in sustainability as well. We take them on the journey. A lot of our customers, like all of us, they don't know everything, but they want people to help them. So they come to us, they want us to teach them what they should be doing, or you know, what is their competitor doing maybe in another part of the world, or what are other people in their industry doing? You know, what's the standard? Because we would be working with some of their competitors or, you know, other partners in the industry. We can actually provide that back to them, right? And provide them with that insight and knowledge to be better. And if we're doing that to everyone, we're just getting better and better. So I think it's really important for us to educate our customers. And by the way, when I say customers, that's internally and externally, right? Our employees are our customers and our, you know, consumers' customers. So all customers, I think we take them on the journey.
Great question. I think perhaps instead of thinking about changing behaviors, because that's huge, people are innately stubborn. Maybe perhaps how you can think about it is, let's try to meet them where they are now, and then try and edge them a little bit, and then a little bit, and then a little bit. Not going from 0 to 100 right away, but maybe 0 to 10 to 20 to 30, and incremental behavior change that way, I think is actually more sustainable.
Right.
I think speaking as an operator, for a property operator, hotel operator, I agreed. Changing customer behavior is a big word. And if you tell a customer, I want to change your behavior, I don't think any customers would love it. Actually, in fact, running as a hospitality, I can tell you sometimes it's the other way around. They teach us what is sustainability. They tell us what is green. So for instance, with the COVID-19, with the staycation, we leverage the opportunity. We have a hotel in Thai Old Heritage Hotel. We actually work with the Thai Old villages to promote more cultural tourism, to promote more sustainable tourism during COVID-19. So this gives you a successful case study that even with challenges, we can turn into opportunities with the customers. And more importantly, as what we want to take away today, partnerships with our key stakeholders to drive the changes. And I think that also can be something that helps.
Right. So eventually, I think is aligning our marketing goals with the sustainability goals, and also making sure that we are doing purpose work with our day-to-day influence. So thank you, everyone. I think comes to an end of the session. Thanks to our panelists to be here with us today, and hope you enjoyed the session.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.